Okay, so those of you watching at home, I know the screen has got a little glare on it from the camera, but do your best and try to follow along in the slideshow that I attached to Google Classroom. For the rest of us, I was gone obviously for a few days. My granddaughter was being born and so forth in Arizona. And then I take my kind of introductory lesson, and you guys had a handout from Ms. Moy, 2 handouts from Ms. Moy. One was a introductory packet, if you could get that out right now. The other one was a proposal. And the company proposal is actually due today. Excuse me, if you want to turn it in at the end of the hour, you may. Also, I just want you guys to know you can change your company proposal at any time up until the point that we start. I had a kid actually first block this morning. He turned in his company proposal, and at the beginning of the hour, dropped it off up there. He listened to what I had to talk about today, and he said, hey, when you mentioned this, I think that my company violates that rule, so I'm going to change my company. Can I do that? And of course said yes. So there's going to be some things that you may have already written down. Jackson Field's another one in second block. He had a name. It was too close to the sports channel ESPN. We called it TSPN, and so that's against the rules. You can't have anything close to violating a trademark or a copyright of a current company. And another girl just asked me if she can do Aquafina Cafe. And I had to say no to that because Aquafina water. So you can't have, like Mason can't have Mason's Nike shoe store. Even though his shoe store can sell Nikes, you just can't put that name in the name of his company. So your company name has to be totally original. All right, it has to be totally original. I'm going to give you some more examples of that as we go through. Now, the first part of this is going to be a little bit of a review from the other day. These basics, I just want to quickly zip through this because I already talked about a lot of this. It's going to take me a while just to explain a lot of this stuff. And what really is throwing a wrench into this is we've got testing week coming up. So like a lot of you juniors, I was hoping to make some progress with you guys on Monday. What I'm probably going to do is at some point during the week, I know we're doing some asynchronous time. I'm probably going to take a video again, whether it's me at home or during a class of whoever's here. But if you're absent, and when we do our asynchronous time next week, make sure you're checking Google Classroom, because really a lot of the good stuff comes from what I verbally tell you. I mean, you can read these instructions, but hearing it come from my mouth and being able to ask questions are really going to give you the intricacies, the details that you're really going to need to do well in this simulation. There's basically going to be 2 big days. Right now, those 2 big days are scheduled for a week from Monday and a week from Tuesday. They are presentation day and IPO day. They go back to back. Presentation day, each one of you in class will do a presentation. Everybody has to present that day. If you're on quarantine, then you have to make arrangements for your presentation to happen that day. It might be do a Zoom call. It might be tape yourself doing a video. It might be getting a hold of Jason, your cousin, and saying, will you do my presentation for me? All right, so that's one thing I want to get out of the way right away. You're a business. And let's say Mason's got a bakery and he's good at baking things, right? But he's not necessarily good at making TV commercials. He's not necessarily good at making an advertisement or a flyer. So what do real companies do? They hire somebody to do that. You're allowed to hire somebody to do your work for you. It's within the rules. You just have to run the company and make sure these things get done. If Mason doesn't like to stand in front of the class, and he wants to pay Josh 50 Roscoe bucks to do his presentation for him, he's allowed to do that. But it doesn't have to be 50 Roscoe bucks. He can say, hey, I'll buy you McDonald's coffee for the next 3 mornings if you do my presentation for me. Or if you do my investment for me. A little bit later on, the presentations are going to turn into these things called investments, which I'll tell you more about those a little bit later on. Every day, your company has to be managed or run by somebody. I'm going to encourage you to make agreements ahead of time. Hey, Henry, if I'm ever absent, will you run my company for me so Mr. P doesn't drive my stock price down? Because one of the things I'm going to do every day during this thing is I'm gonna call attendance, and I'll say Aiden Loving, and if he doesn't answer, I'm like, the very next question I'm gonna say is, Aiden's gone, who's running Aiden's company? If I hear crickets, I put a little minus sign by Aiden's name, and then the next Perry Ellis Street Journal stock update, you'll see his stock go down. All right, you have to have somebody running your company every day. It might be as simple as Mr. P, I'm running his company, and then they might not have to do anything that day. But if I asked for something to get done, and the person managing your company should do that on your behalf. And I'll explain a little bit more about that stuff a little bit later. Now, I know that there are some exceptions, some emergencies. Let's say that Henry gets in a car accident right before class. He can't message me. He can't get somebody to run his company. Okay, that's going to be expected. But if you're just homesick or on quarantine or on vacation or whatever, my email works. Your email works. You have to contact me or contact somebody in class to get them to run your company. All right. Class participation is about more than half, anyway, of what your grade is going to be for this simulation. It's going to be a lot of just effort combined with results, and I'll explain more about that a little bit later on. But it's a lot about class participation, and about 40% of your fourth marking period grade is going to come from the simulation. It's going to be over 200 points for the simulation, and most of it is class participation. If you're just simply participating, I don't care if you have the last place business, the very worst grade that you can get, if you're participating or you have somebody participating on your behalf, is a B minus. Guaranteed, absolute worst grade you can get. Now, before anybody gets anxiety and they're like, oh my gosh, Mr. P, I can't, my stock price, my grade's going to be dependent on my stock price. And no, it's not going to necessarily be dependent on, on your stock price. It's going to be your participation, and I'll explain how that works. You can come in last place pretty much in the class and get a B minus for that portion of it. As long as you're getting an A on everything else, which is pretty much class participation, then you're going to be okay. You're going to probably still get a low A, high A minus, something like that. All right. Most of you are going to get an A or an A minus on this simulation if you're participating. The only people who really fail the Perry Ellis Street Journal simulation are the ones that are absent a lot and then don't contact me, don't communicate with their classmates, and so forth. Or they do something and then they forget to bring it in, or they say they're going to do something and forget to bring it in. All right, those are really the situations where people can get less than a B minus. It's possible. And you can fail it. Occasionally, probably every year, 1 or 2 kids will fail it, but it's usually based on just, they're not here. They're never here or whatever. And we may have some issues with quarantine people, but we're going to try and incorporate quarantine people into this process. I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work yet, but it might, be with Zoom and some transacting of money that really won't take place till after that person comes back. So we'll keep a ledger. Like, let's say if Josh wants to buy some stock from somebody who's up here zooming on the big screen with us, and he can't actually pay for that with the Roscoe bucks until later, but we'll mark it down that he owes that person and that person owes him some stock and whatever. I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but we're going to make it work. So the business presentation can be, and I mentioned this the other day, everybody has to do one. So a week from Monday is tentatively our business presentation day. If you're not going to be here, then you're going to have somebody else do the presentation for you, or you videotape it and email it to me, or whatever. All right, your presentation has to go down on Monday, because that's what your classmates are going to use to gauge how much they want to spend on your stock the following day, IPO day, which is just as important to be here. All right, if you have to, if you could, whatever, avoid being sick or tell your parents not to go on vacation, or the 2 most important days of this simulation not to miss are Monday and Tuesday, a week from Monday and Tuesday after testing. All right, that is presentation day and IPO day. So there's roughly 17 of you in class. All 17 of you are going to present on presentation day. All right, you have an 8-minute max. Even if everybody went 8 minutes, we'd still pretty much get through it, but not everybody's going to do 8 minutes. And so your presentation is not going to be graded by me. It's going to be kind of graded by your classmates by their pocketbooks. So for example, if Bella either forgets to do her presentation or doesn't put a lot of effort into it, and she literally does an 8-second presentation. She walks up here, my name's Isabella, and my company's going to be Bella's Bakery, and we're going to bake cupcakes and stuff. Thank you very much. All right, no visual aids, no handouts, no pictures, no slideshow, no video, no nothing. All right, she just stands up there for like 8 or 10 seconds and then walks off. That's what I would call a $10, $15, or $20 presentation. All right, now somebody comes up here, let's say it's Bella's Bakery again. She puts up a slideshow. She's got a Google map of where she's located. She's got pictures of bakery shops that she's seen off the internet. And she puts a logo up there. And then she actually bakes some cupcakes. And then she has a little video of herself. Multimedia, all right? She puts hours of effort into this presentation. There's 2 different scenarios there. One scenario is, oh my gosh, she did an 8-second presentation with no visual aids. That's really not a stock I want to invest in. If he says that's important and she treated it like that, why am I to think she's going to do anything different for the next 3 weeks? On the other hand, the second Bella's Bakery, all the visual aids, she even bakes some cupcakes for everybody, and it's just a kick-butt presentation, all right? That's probably going to be like a $60, $70, or $80 presentation. Now, you're not going to know what it is until IPO day when your classmates either throw lots of money at you or they don't. Now, I'm going to write down what I think your presentation was from a historic standpoint. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. Thousands and thousands of presentations I've watched over 30 years. I know what a 10 is. All right, I know what 100 is. I've seen a couple of those. They're very, very rare. $100 presentation. $100 presentation is multimedia and amazing, and maybe they bring in guests and they have a demonstration, and maybe they tape themselves, make a professional looking commercial, any number of things, all right? So on IPO day, you're going to sell your stock. So here's first Bella, no visual aids Bella. She's over here going, wants to buy some of my stock, Bella's Bakery. 20, 15, anybody? All right, nobody's buying. Now, at some point, somebody will buy, so don't freak out. Even if you did a lame presentation, somebody's going to look at that and go, you know what, I'm going to buy 10 of her stocks for 20 bucks. I'll pay 200 bucks, all right? And if she just gets it up to 40 bucks a share, I'll double my money, all right? So at some point, people will buy your stock. Don't worry about that. It won't get down to 5 or 0 or anything like that. But you might be selling it for 20 bucks a share. Now, most of you on IPO day are probably going to sell your stocks from anywhere from $30 to $60 to $70 per share. That's an average share price. But Bella number 2 that did the multimedia video, baked some cupcakes, she's over here who wants to buy my stock, and she gets rushed by 6 or 7 of you, and they're like, I'll pay you 70, I'll pay you 80, and she's like, higher, and she's negotiating with them. I'll pay you 90, I'll pay you 100, all right? So Bella number 2 is going to make a lot of money on IPO day. Bella number 1 is not, all right? And so it's important that your presentation impress your classmates, all right? Give them the notion that you're going to be putting a lot of effort into this. They will want to pay lots of money for your stock because your stock will make them lots of money. It'll make you lots of money too, but your stock will make them lots of money, all right? So holding other people's stock is going to make you money, hopefully. Holding your own stock is going to make you money through investments. I'll talk about that process. Holding money is just a safe cash. Here's what I mean. Somebody asked, second block, Mr. P, can I just sell my stocks and not buy anybody's? And I'd say, yes, you can. That's within the rules. you're gonna have a pile of cash, but let's say your $1,000 of cash, well, tomorrow that's still gonna be $1,000, and the next day it's still gonna be $1,000, all right? Meanwhile, your classmates have bought stock, and that stock's gonna go up each day, mostly, hopefully, that stock will go up. It has the ability to go down, but remember, risk, high return, low risk, low return. If you go low risk and just have cash and you're not investing in anybody's stock, you'll be about middle of the road, all right? You're not gonna make a lot of money, you're not gonna lose any money, all right? But if you take on more risk by buying lots of stock, your opportunity to finish at the top of your class is gonna be a lot easier to pull off. Yes, question?
Diversification, right?
Say again?
Diversification.
Diversification, so good question. There could be a couple strategies that you take on. Strategy number one might be, I'm gonna buy 1 or 2 shares of hers, 1 or 2 shares of his. I'm gonna buy a little bit from everybody, all right? That's a good strategy. Or you might go a higher risk strategy and you'd be like, all I wanna do is I wanna buy Bella number 1 stock as much as I can for 20 bucks a share. And then I'm just gonna push her and urge her and, hey, do some investment, make me some money. All right, that might be a strategy, that's high risk. But another high risk strategy might be going up to Bella number 2, paying lots of money for her stock, and then she doesn't do a whole lot the rest of the time. So you might buy her stock for $100 a share, but she's then got to do some things to keep it at $100 a share and even make it go up. And if she doesn't do those things, then her $100 a share that you paid is going to be 90, 80, 70, 60, all right? If you diversify, all right, as Noah says, and you have lots of people's stock, then the opportunity for growth is going to be good, and you're going to limit lazy people. You're going to limit how many people are not doing stuff to keep their stock price up. You got to do stuff. You don't know what those things are. It's that class participation I'm talking about. So you got to do things on a daily basis to keep your stock price up. If you don't do those things or have somebody doing them on your behalf, then your stock price will start to go down. So your stock price might go down. You realize, oh, my stock price is go down. I better do some stuff, and you can get it to go back up. But every time you go down, or if you start lower, then it's harder to catch the people at the top. Quite often, the people at the top might do a wire to wire, but it's not always wire to wire. What I mean by that is, let's say Bella number 2 does her awesome presentation. She's selling her stock for 80, 90, 100 bucks a share, and then she does awesome investments every other day, and it goes up to 150, 180, 200, 250, and even up to $300 a share. The winner of this at the end will probably have a stock price into the 300s. The last place person will probably have a stock price anywhere from 30 to 70, all right? So if you can get Bella's for 20 bucks a share, Bella number 1 for 20 bucks a share, and then push her to do some investments, all right? Or help her do some investments. Maybe she gets it up to 50, 60 bucks, you can double, triple your money, all right? Bella number 2, you bought her stock for 100 bucks a share. That might be an awesome investment, but in order to triple your money, Bella number 2 has got to get her stock up to $300 a share. That's pretty difficult. She's probably going to have to be in the top 2 or 3 of the class to finish at over $300 per share. It's going to be competitive. Right? You're gonna, some of you are going to have an advantage. Maybe you have older siblings. Avery's got 2 older brothers she can call and say, hey, what did you do? Give me some help on this Perry Ellis Street Journal. Ella's got some older brothers that she can call. Hey, how'd you do on this Perry Ellis Street Journal stuff? All right, give me some helpful hints here. They might have an advantage and know some of the ins and outs and intricacies, and you'll have to just keep an eye on them and figure out, what is Avery doing to get her stock to go up? All right, and figure that out. All right, or ask around or whatever. But it's not going to put you at a huge disadvantage. But again, remember, your grade is going to be 1/4 of your grade is going to be tied to what place you come in. First, somebody in here is going to be in first place. Somebody in here is going to be in last place. I'm sorry to tell you. And it's going to be public. All right, I'm gonna publish a Perry Street Journal newspaper update every day. Or else I'm gonna test putting it online this year as well. So grandmas and grandpas can see it. Mr. Ewald can see it. Your other teachers can see it. Kids from other classes will be able to see it. This also gets back to the appropriateness of your business name, because grandmas and grandpas will be able to see it. We don't want any, marijuana dispensaries or those sorts of things that might be inappropriate, okay? So the two big days are presentation day and IPO day. That second day, before I get to the IPO day, let's talk about your stocks. So you did your proposals. I'm gonna show you a whole bunch of stocks. I showed you a few yesterday's video. You have to have company name, logo, founder's name, and one share. Founder's name can be on the back of the stock. That is allowed. Some people will put it on the front, some people will put it on the back. That's okay. If you don't want your name on the front, you can put it on the back. You're gonna make 25 single shares. They're gonna be physically smaller than your one share that's gonna say 25 on it. So you're gonna have 50 shares of stock. In real life, companies can have any number of shares. IBM might have 10 million shares. Microsoft might have 50 million shares. That's why you can't always look at a company's stock price and think, okay, this company's better than that company, all right? Because they might have a lot more shares or a lot less shares, right? So that we can really keep everything on an equal playing field here. All of you are always going to have 50 shares. As a matter of fact, there's a fine, and most of the time it's a mistake. But when people cut out and make their stocks, and let's say they use a computer, they hit print, and somehow a 26th share got into their pile on IPO day. That's considered cheating and you'll get a fine. You cannot sell more than 25 shares. You have to sell 25 shares, but you can't sell a 26 or you'll be penalized for that, all right? Now, you think, okay, Mr. P, that's a pretty easy requirement. What idiot's gonna do that? Every year I get an idiot, all right? Excuse my French, but there's always somebody who mistakenly adds a 26 share in there or 27 share or whatever. Now, having less than 25 is within the rules, but you kind of screw yourself over. You're not making as much money as you could. So if you mistakenly only sell 24 shares on day one, you're going to be making less money than you have the right to. So you don't want to make that mistake either. Creativity or lack of will be rewarded and punished in the first couple of days. I mentioned this in the video the other day. I want you to put a lot of effort into this because I will give you cash bonuses if I like your stocks because of the creativity. And your stock will go down if your stock looks like you literally made it 2 hours before class. Okay, go to lunch, we'll come back with more.
Mine, I was gonna kind of do like a dollar bill, make a single